Hello and welcome back to Beckler Guitars and Repair. And today we're checking a guitar I've been looking for quite some time now. This is a 90s Gibson Les Paul Studio. So this is a 1992. It's got the ebony board and it weighs a ton. Let's check it out. So I've been looking for a 90s Gibson Les Paul Studio for quite a while now, one with an ebony board, because they've just got a lot of hype around them. A lot of people swear by them, and prices are starting to reflect that these days. They go for quite a bit of money. And I managed to pick this one up in a trade, and it's a little beat up. It's got a couple issues, but today we're going to go through the whole thing. Make sure it's all authentic, check everything on it, make sure it's all working well, and then set it up super nice and give it the best chance it can, and then we'll do a sound demo and see how good this guitar really is, see if it lives up to the hype. So it came in this crazy case. This thing's beat to hell. It's missing latches, and I think this is the band that used to own this guitar. I think this was a gigging instrument because it's certainly got the marks for it. It's had a headstock repair too. It just looks like a well-worn instrument. So if you know the band Rhombus from Alberta, let them know I have their guitar. So yeah, missing a latch there, and the top doesn't really, the back latches actually come off here on the back. So when you open it, it just flops over. I'll show you what I mean. There, yeah, it doesn't quite work. But yeah, here it is in the ebony finish, 1992 Les Paul Studio, and it's got the ebony fingerboard, which I love, and the neck on it is huge. It's a really big 50s style neck. I compared it to my R8, and it's a little bit smaller than my R8, but not by much, so it's a really big chunky neck. And this thing is super heavy. I think it weighs probably close to 11 pounds, which is very heavy for a Les Paul. They didn't do any chambering at all on these models, and it's got the trapezoid inlays that it used to do on the Les Paul standards. The only thing it's missing is the binding around the neck and the body. Other than that, it's pretty close to like a standard. I think different pickups too. But yeah, this thing's in a bit of rust shape. The black finish has done it no favors over the years. You know, famously with black finishes, you can see every nick and scrape and ding. And this thing has been naturally relict. It's just been really well used. Missing the poker chip ring there. I'm not sure what kind of parts are original on here. We'll find out when we take it apart. I'm not sure if this pickguard is original. There's a bit of a gap there. This guitar has huge frets, like big super jumbo frets. I don't believe they've been replaced. It doesn't look like they have. So I think these are the original frets. That's just kind of how they were doing them this year. And they're not too worn. Like, there's a couple different spots where there's some pitting and some wear, but not to the point I don't think that I'll even have to do a fret level. They're kind of rusty and stuff, but I can probably buff those up pretty nicely. And the ebony board looks great, super nice and dark. And the headstock, it's pretty worn. I'm not sure what went on with some of the areas on this guitar in terms of finish. But let's go ahead and flip it around. So yeah, the back's pretty good. I think this thing was, you know, used but not quite abused. Someone obviously played a lot, but took fairly good care of it. There's not like a lot of buckle rash or anything on the back. Just a couple little marks here and there. Kind of some chip down to the bare wood right there at the base of the neck. But yeah, look at that neck. It's huge, like a baseball bat. It is quite thick. And then here is evidence of the neck repair. So it's pretty well done. It's smooth. Nothing's like jutting out. I mean, it's apparent, but it's not crazy apparent. And there's actually no marks on the top of the headstock. So this is probably just likely a crack that cracked open. And it looks like it was professionally repaired. It looks pretty good. And the back of the headstock is reactive with some stuff. It's almost impossible to read the serial number on this guitar. Because I don't know if it was oversprayed when it had the neck repair, making it even less legible. But sometimes on these 90s Gibsons, they finished over top of the serial number after they stamped it, so sometimes it's really hard to read. A little trick though is you can use a black light to look at it, and usually it's a lot more legible. Because it doesn't really matter what kind of light you get this in, it's really, really hard to read. It came pretty reasonably well set up. There was no dead spots in the frets, and the action's pretty low. I can kind of fine-tune the setup though for my preference. But okay, let's go ahead and get on the bench, get a weight, and then make sure all the parts are original, and then we'll set it up and plug it in, see how it sounds. So weighing in at a very heavy 10 pounds, 8.3 ounces, so just about 10.5 pounds, which is very heavy. Some people swear by these heavy guitars, but I haven't had much experience with them. So that's 4.772 kilograms. So I'm reading the pickup readings here and getting some kind of weird readings here. So this is the should be on this year of studio, the 490, 498 pickup set. So the bridge pickup should read a little bit hotter, typically in the 12 to 14 range, and the neck pickup should be a little bit less hot, you know, typically reading about 8 to 9. So in the bridge position, I'm getting around that 8.84, and then in the neck position, it's a lot hotter at 13.62. So that makes me think that these pickups were installed in the wrong locations. Either that or my switch is backwards. So either way, we'll figure that out in a bit here. So I'm just checking the switch, and the switch is in the right position. It's corresponding to the correct pickup. So let's have a look in the back. The pickups might have been swapped at some point, and then when they were put back in, someone might have put them in the wrong positions. But let's see if the soldering in the back has been messed with at all. So having a look at our wiring, it looks like, yeah, this has been messed with a little bit. It looks like all the pots are original, and the capacitors, got the original plate at the bottom, but these wires don't look familiar. It should be a braided wire, and this has actual different wires coming off of the ground and the lead. The neck pickup looks to be original, although the solder points look like they've been messed with as well. So I think that likely someone took the pickups out of this thing and then either replaced them and put them back afterwards, or we've got a totally different pickup in the bridge position. Let's flip it over and see. Alright, let's have a look. Okay, yeah, I see the issue there. So if you look right here, you can see the original braiding lead on this humbucker here in the corner. So this was probably cut out of this guitar, and someone cut the wire right next to the pickup, and then when they put it back in, they had to use different wires. So my theory for this guitar is someone put other pickups in here at one point, and then maybe was selling it, so they put the originals back in, and then they mixed up the locations of the pickups. Like this should have been the neck, and this should have been the bridge, because this is it's reading like a 490, so I'm assuming it is, and the neck pickup is reading like a 498, which is the original set that would have came on this guitar. So, but that's interesting to me, because I find the 498, it's in the neck right now, to be a little bit too shrill in a bridge position. And I really like the 490 pickup because it's an Alnico 2 magnet, and it's a little bit more like classic rock sounding. So I think I'm going to keep this 490 in the bridge and the 498 in the neck, because the 498 is a little bit shriller sounding. I think it would be good in a neck position, and you can always adjust the height of the pickup too to kind of dial that in. So yeah, I'm going to leave it as is. Try it out. If I don't like it, I can always switch it back. But I think this is going to be a good configuration for my style of playing and my preferred sound. So yeah, let's try that. Here's just a look at the 498 in the neck position now. So it's just got that stamped Gibson USA on there, and it's got the original wire on this one. They didn't mess with this one for some reason. And our routes look good. There is our neck cavity route. It's a short neck tenon, and it looks nice and clean in there. The routes are finished, which is not the case on some years of Gibson. And then let's just have a double check on that route. Yeah, looks good. You can see that red buffing compound in there. You can kind of tell what year a guitar was made by the color of the buffing compound in the cavities. In the 90s they were using this red compound. So that's cool. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and put this back together here. Just another quick tip. When buying a used guitar, another kind of clue that these pickups have been messed with is that these screws have been replaced. Like normally these would have been silver screws, so black screws on the pickup rings means that someone's been in there doing something. And then the pickup ring here is broken too, so typically these don't break ever unless you're taking them out and messing with them. So these are two kind of red flags that someone has done something, or at least been into the pickup cavities doing something. And here's a quick look at the bridge and the tailpiece. So this is a Nashville style Tune-o-matic bridge. It's branded PW. It looks good. It's not collapsed in any way. Looks like it's set up well to be intonated as well. And then here's a look at the tailpiece. It's full weight. It says made in Germany on the back, which is era correct. And this guitar was missing a poker chip, so I have an extra one I'm just going to throw on there. Alright, so I'm just going to do a black light test on this guitar. It's an older guitar. It's a 1992, so it's getting up there in age. It's about 32 years old. So it's always good to check to see what kind of overspray has been done on it, and see maybe which parts are replaced. They kind of glow differently. I'll show you what I mean when we get into it here. So let's check it out. So yeah, over the years you can see where the bridge and tailpiece was, because the UV light didn't damage the finish in that area. It glows a little bit different. And typically you can just see a lot more marks and dings. Looks like there might have been a sticker on here at one point. You can see where the UV is different right there. Typically you don't see much on the fingerboard. And there is our headstock. You can see something has reacted with the finish on the headstock for sure. Let's flip it over quick. So everything's kind of glowing uniformly on the back here. Looks like there was some rubbing here, or something kind of reacted with the finish. On the neck, you usually see this is pretty worn because this is where your hands will rub up into the neck, and there's sweat absorption and some of the finish goes away just due to the rubbing. And there is our neck crack. So I'm not sure if this was oversprayed in any way or that's just kind of natural wear, but you can definitely see the crack a little bit easier under the black light. And then this is a great way to check out a serial number if it's covered over, because it really does shine a lot better in the black light. Let me just see if I can get a good angle there. So yeah, what was previously like pretty much invisible, you can sort of start to make out now. So it says 94002-338. So that would date this to 1992. So now I'm just going to go ahead and clean this thing up, polish the frets, and we'll have a quick look at the condition. So I polished and cleaned all the frets and the fingerboard, and to clean this thing up as best I could. So let's just quickly go over the condition. The headstock, it's got some finish reaction there. I tried to clean it up, but that's just actually part of the finish. So part of the Les Paul logo has rubbed off or reacted with something. Truss rod's in good shape, no threads showing at all. And our nut is original and seems to be well cut. And then, yeah, the frets, they have minimal wear, so there is some marks on there. I didn't want to level it because there was no issue playing this guitar. And yeah, these are super jumbo frets on here, and they polished up really nicely. I noticed there's consistent wear all the way up the neck, so that means someone really did play the heck out of this thing. So it's seen a lot of years of heavy use, and there were some really light strings on here too. So I think one thing that saves your frets is light strings and a light touch. I use a super light pick and light strings, and I rarely have any fret wear on any of my guitars, despite, you know, hours and hours and hours and hours of playing. So I think that makes a big difference. If you're heavy-handed and use a heavy gauge of strings, it really wears your frets out faster. But these ones are in quite nice shape. There's still evidence of wear, but not to the point where anything needs to be done. And that ebony fingerboard with a little bit of oil is just super nice and dark and super smooth. I love ebony fretboards because they just feel great to play on, almost like glass, especially a worn-in ebony fretboard. Like over the years, they just get smoother and smoother and smoother. And this one's very smooth. The body, it's in good shape. You can see like little shadows all over this guitar. Like right here is a good example. I don't know if the camera is capturing that, but I think there were stickers all over this guitar at one point. It was probably, yeah, a gigging guitar covered in stickers, played a lot. But there's nothing crazy. If you get in the light, you can see some more spots, like some of the finish is kind of chipped away there. Not down to the wood. But it's super cloudy and scuffed up, and there's more evidence of those stickers kind of everywhere. But nothing crazy. And then that goes to the back. Again, the back's in quite nice shape. Usually you see a lot of wear from gigging guitars right here because of a belt buckle. But whoever had this didn't wear a belt, I don't think. Or they were just very careful with it. And it's got the odd bumps and scrapes and dings here and there, but no big chips or hardly anything to the bare wood. So it's just kind of a naturally worn guitar. More of a bigger chip right there. But the rest of the neck is nice and clean. Again, nice big 50s neck on this. And then there's the witness mark from our repair. But I gave it some pressure. Like with these kind of repairs, I like to kind of test them when I buy them. So I'll really put some muscle in it and trying to bend it and see if it creaks or cracks or opens up at all. And this one seemed very solid, so seems like a very solid repair. Alright, so it cleaned up pretty nice. It's in decent player's grade shape for sure. I'm going to go ahead and put a new set of strings on here and set it up, and then we can check the setup. Alright, all restrung. I managed to get a really nice setup on this guitar. So using my notch straight edge, you can see that there's just very little relief in the neck. There's just a very small gap between the notch straight edge and the fingerboard, so that means the truss rod is nice and tight. There's not a lot of relief. And then here in the 3rd fret area, you can see when I use the 3rd fret that the string is like almost against that 1st fret. So it's very low action here and easy to play. And the nut is cut very well. And then here in the 12th fret area, using my depth gauge, you can see that the low E is between 0.75 and 1 millimeter. So very low. And the high E is like between 0.5 and 0.75, so very low action. I'm just going to go through the entire fretboard to make sure there's no buzzing or fretting out anywhere. I like to speed up this part, but if you want to hear it in real time, just slow down your player to 25%. So yeah, very, very low action and no buzzing or fretting out anywhere. The fretwork is really nice on this guitar. I'm not sure if this has been refretted or it was maybe leveled at some point or what, but this is very easy to play. And yeah, there's no fret sprout at all either. Super smooth. And since we, you know, buffed the frets, you can bend and it's super smooth, and the fretboard just feels great because it's just that really nice glassy ebony. Yeah, it feels great. And it rings out really nicely when you play it acoustically as well. Yeah, really great sustain. Alright, let's get some neck specs and then we'll plug it in and see how it sounds. Alright, I'm going to get the neck specs, but I'm also going to compare it to my 2022 R8 because these necks feel fairly similar. I want to see how close they are in terms of measurements. This is a 1.71 at the nut or a 43.47 millimeters. And the R8 is 1.68, so this is actually a little bit of a wider neck. At the 12th fret, that is a 2.06 or a 52.36 millimeters. That's a 2.04 inches or a 52.02 millimeters. So the Studio is also slightly wider at the 12th fret. Neck depth at the 1st fret for the Studio is a 0.856 or a 21.75 millimeters, and on the R8 that is a 0.938 or a 23.82 millimeters. So the R8 is actually quite a bit thicker. And at the 12th fret, the Studio is a 1.01 inches or a 25.76 millimeters. The R8 is a 1.02 inches or 26.09 millimeters. So very close to the same thickness of the 12th fret. And then the R8 is just a little bit thicker by the nut, and the Studio is just a little bit wider. So they're very similar necks. There's a little bit of difference, but the Studio neck feels really good. And here's a look at the neck profile. So very similar to the R8, it's just a very rounded neck profile. It stays very rounded all the way from the 1st to the 12th. So that's similar to the R8 as well. And I find the neck super comfortable. It's just that nice big full 50C chunky neck. Again, yeah, I can feel it. It's not quite as big as the R8 up here, but it's still nice and full. And I like the little bit of a wider fretboard as well too. And with these big jumbo frets, it just kind of plays itself. It's super easy to play, and you can bend to the high heavens. And it's just super smooth and feels great. Something a little bit different. This is a little amp that I picked up on Marketplace. There was a local builder who builds these things. Basically, it's based on a 5 F1 Fender Champ, which is like a really old Champ amplifier from was made between 1958 and 1964. They go for insane money these days, but all it is a tube amp with one knob. So this increases your volume and your gain at the same time. There's a couple cool things you can do with it. It sounds great like this for clean, on the lower settings. But then if you pull it up, you get a lot more gain. So this is actually based on that circuit, but instead of a 6v6, he's using an EL84. Another really cool thing about this amp, and it's just purely for fun, is there's a little tube here. It's an old EM80i tube from a radio, and you can use it as like a primitive view meter. So see this little green signal thing? That shows you your signal to the amp, and if you play, it moves. So it's just a visual thing, but it's really, really cool. And I've been playing this amp for a couple days now, and it just sounds great. So we'll use it today. All right, so I'm using that weird little Champ amp with a 112 cab. I'm using an SM57 to mic up the cab, and I'm using an Audio-Technica condenser as like a room mic. I'm just gonna go through each position clean, and then I'll turn up the amp for some natural amp distortion for a little bit of dirt. So yeah, it sounds quite nice clean. So what I did with the pickups, because they're reversed, I just made sure that my string spacing was a little bit lower on the neck pickup. So my bridge pickup is about, you know, 1/8 of an inch away from the strings, and my neck is about double that. So I'm getting nice even volume through my pickups. So all right, sounds great. I'm gonna go ahead and try it with a little bit of dirt. All right, so final thoughts on this 1992 Les Paul Studio with the ebony fingerboard. I'm really glad I found this thing. I've been looking for one for quite a long time. And yeah, it's a little early to tell, but I think it's pretty much fast tracked to like one of my favorite guitars at the moment because it's amazing. The neck on it is incredible. It's just that really nice full C, that 50 C, and it's really, really big. It's you know, it's even wider than my R8 and not quite as thick, but it's just really feels really, really good. I love ebony fingerboards, especially worn-in ones. And this one's been played a lot, and it just has that really glass-like feel. The frets are super shiny and polished, so super easy to bend. This guitar came to me almost perfectly set up. It had nice low action, the intonation was bang on. All I did was throw in a new set of strings, and it's good to go. And the pickups are reversed, but I really like them this way. I think I would actually do this with other guitars, just because I really like the way it sounds. I love the 490 pickup with Alnico 2. It sounds great in a bridge position. The 498 is a little bit hotter, so I just kind of backed it away from the strings a little bit farther so that the volume's matched, and it sounds really nice in a neck position. Usually it's pretty shrill in a bridge, so that shrillness kind of, you know, sounds good as a neck position because it's not too muddy. Condition-wise, the guitar was in pretty good shape, considering, you know, how old it is. There's a few marks here and there. It did have a neck repair at some point, but it seems to be really well done. It seems to be very solid. And yeah, it stayed in tune really well. I guess the only bad thing I have to say about this guitar is the weight. And it's just super, super heavy. Like 10.5 pounds, which is very, very heavy. I think my R8 weighs just under 8.5 pounds, so that's kind of what I'm used to. But this guitar had really great resonance, great sustain. Really very easy to play because of the super big frets on this thing too. So yeah, I really like this guitar. I'm gonna keep it in my collection. I think it's just nice to have a Les Paul that isn't my R8 so I can actually bring it to shows and stuff like that. I'm a little leery with a super expensive guitar, but something like this I don't mind bringing, especially since it's a little bit beat up already. So yeah, if you can find one of these 90s era ebony board studios, I say go for it. If this one's any indication of the rest, probably great guitars that actually live up to the hype. But that's going to be it for today. Thank you for tuning in to Beckler Guitars and Repair, and I'll have more for you really soon. Thanks a lot.